finds Rose. Rose trying to get open, fires away. Bang!
Jalen Brown kicks it out. Smart fakes. Inside, Tatum spins and he puts it in. Doncic lets it go. And hits! Woo!
Again to Durant, facing the defense.
Maintain the level of detail, Stephanie, that they started this game with. This Murray boy circus shot. They will count it.
Lead in this opening round series. Morant.
Oh! A jawbreaker! Here comes Mitchell. Gobert! Utah! Lillard, long range three. And it's good! Damian Lillard! Are you kidding me?
Jokic just gets it off in time. It's up. Oh, it's good! Of course it goes in!
The NBA playoffs are home to so many rivalries, clutch moments, and it's where legends can be made, legends can die, and overall a form of the highest level of basketball entertainment and some of the most intense, nail-biting moments I've ever seen in my life. As for this year's NBA playoffs, I believe there are so many teams that could make a deep run. If one team gets knocked out on either side of the bracket, someone could make a crazy playoff run if everything goes right. And I think this year, there might be more contenders than you think. Hello everyone, I'm Mason, and let's get into why this year's NBA playoffs might be the best playoffs we've ever seen. Now, first looking at the play-in games, because obviously that's the first part of the playoffs, you have 4 teams on the western side of the bracket that honestly could pose a threat to either of those 1 or 2 seeds, the Denver Nuggets and the Thunder. As a Thunder fan, I obviously worry a lot more for the Thunder in these matchups because I know the Nuggets have been a lot more proven in this area and the Thunder are just getting their feet wet. You have last year's Kings that went to 7 after not being in the playoffs for 16 years, and the Kings are back in the play-in, and if they win this, they have matched up well against the Thunder this season. It would be a very scary season even with the injuries of the Kings. Now the East, I wouldn't say has as many teams that could be threats to the contenders or could be a contender. However, the 76ers and Heat, both of those teams are teams that have shown how great they can be. The Heat showed last year that they could dominate anyone in the East, no matter them being a play-in team. They ran through 2 of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. The 76ers are a little more unproven. I believe with how well they played this year with Joel Embiid, they were 31-8 with him this year. I honestly think they could put together a playoff run as well. The first round matchups have a lot of great series, a couple little rivalries in here, and honestly, most of these series are toss-ups. The Pacers beat the Bucks in 4 out of 5 games they played this season. Am I going to take the Pacers to beat the Bucks? Probably not, but that could still be a very good series if the Pacers play their cards right. The 4-5 matchups, the Cavaliers and the Magic, the Clippers and the Mavericks, both of those series could go either way. Last year's playoffs I thought were very enjoyable. I know some people didn't like having a Nuggets and Heat finals. I thought it was a very good year for the playoffs as a lot of good teams competed and there were very many good historic moments and matchups. One of the biggest issues is that a couple of the teams have injuries, such as the Clippers not knowing if Kawhi is going to play the first game or 2 of the series. The Kings are missing Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter, which are 2 key pieces to their team. The Bucks have not had Giannis for the last few games, so you can only hope he'll be back for the playoffs. If there's one thing though that we have learned from the playoffs, it is that even though some teams might seem unbeatable on paper, you never count out the underdogs. I'd say the biggest underdogs in this entire playoffs are the 76ers and the Heat, which I've already mentioned because of what they've proven in the past and the star power that they're loaded with. The Lakers, Pelicans are all very loaded up with star power as well, and as long as they play their best basketball, they can compete with some of the top dogs in the West. Last year showed us that just because a team is lower in the standings doesn't mean actually anything when it comes to a full playoff series. Another big underdog in this playoffs is also the Dallas Mavericks, as a lot of people have been criticizing Luka Doncic, and a lot of people don't believe that he is going to be able to lead this team in the playoffs, even though in the past he has shown what he's capable of, as in 2022 he knocked off the #1 seeded Suns in a 7-game series and blew them out on their home court. I think every one of these first round series could honestly be a 6 or 7 game series if everything goes well. That's not always the case, as things can get lopsided very easily in a playoff series due to injuries, poor coaching, certain stars rising and falling in the big moments. Like last year, a series that nobody expected to turn out the way that it did, the Nuggets swept the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. The one thing that a lot of teams do have this season is a fear factor of you do not want to play them in the playoffs. I would say these teams are probably my truest contenders. The first team I want to mention, this is not the biggest contender by any means, but it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. I am a Thunder fan myself, so this may seem a little bit biased. However, Thunder GM Sam Presti said, when we make it back to the playoffs, I want it to be an arrival, not an appearance. The last time that they made the playoffs, they had a young Shai Gilgeous-Alexander along with a veteran Chris Paul and lost to the Rockets in 7, and this was kind of at the beginning of the rebuild. Last year, they lost in the play-in to the Timberwolves, and here they are back, the #1 seed in the Western Conference, which is very shocking. And honestly, I see that alone as a reason why they could be dangerous come playoff time. And Shai has shown he can be clutch, so I believe that this team can put up a dogfight against any one of these top contenders in the West. Even if they don't win, let's say they played the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, I could still see the Thunder winning that series, or if not, they would lose it in like 6 or 7, and they are just getting started. The Dallas Mavericks are a team that I could see knocking off the Thunder in the second round, and with how well they've been put together, especially since the trade deadline, I think they could be dangerous this playoffs as well. And if everything goes right for them, obviously you don't want to play the Denver Nuggets because Nikola Jokic and what they did last season. When push comes to shove, the Dallas Mavericks can definitely put up a fight against any of these contenders, as they are a contender themselves. As I just mentioned, the Denver Nuggets are obviously a contender. They're the 2 seed. They just won it all last year. They have a good amount of people saying that they will repeat this year. I'm not going to go ahead and say that just yet. I just want to watch it play out. I like watching these things. I do have my own opinions and takes on the matter. I'd say the Nuggets have anywhere between a 30 to 40% chance of winning, as they are such an experienced and well put together roster, and they were one of the only teams this season that went into Boston and beat them on their home floor. I just want to give a little shout out to the Minnesota Timberwolves because I think they could be a contender. Denver last season said that was the toughest playoff series that they had, even though it only went to 5 games. Those games were tough all the way through, and honestly, Anthony Edwards was cooking. That's a thing to look out for. He's only gotten better. Karl Anthony Towns is healthy this year. Gobert has been better. Naz Reid has been incredible. I think that's a team that could easily give Denver a scare if they matched up in the second round. Now, I'm not saying that these other Western Conference teams don't have a chance to win the championship. I have a different tier that I put them in, not just a complete contender, but maybe the little dark horse teams or the underdogs that could make it far. Going into the East, I don't have as many teams that could be contenders. The difference between the East and the West is the East is very top heavy, it seems, while the West is more balanced throughout. Obviously, Boston is a championship favorite for a lot of people. By far the best record in the NBA, 64-18. Nobody wants to play them because they have such an incredible starting 5. And honestly, if everything goes right for them and they could play against a really good team and just destroy them in like 5 games. Another contender that I have is the New York Knicks. The reason I say this is look at how incredible Jalen Brunson has been. Brunson has been averaging almost 29 points a game this season. Brunson's last 44 games, he has been averaging 31 points and 7 assists, which just goes to show you that even with the injuries that the Knicks were facing, he still showed the world even a shorter guard like himself is able to dominate and take over the game. The Milwaukee Bucks obviously obviously are going to be a contender as well. Giannis and Damian Lillard are two very great playoff performers, so putting them on the same roster automatically gives you a little bit of an unfair advantage over the rest of the competition, and we just hope that they can have good chemistry together throughout the playoffs, because one issue this season has been with the coaching and not having Adrian Griffin as the coach anymore. They've been a little all over the place. I do have some faith in them when it comes to the playoffs because of what they've done in the past. I do really like the Pacers. I think it'd be really cool if they could knock off the Bucks. However, I don't know if that could really happen in this playoff setting. The Cavs and the Magic, either of those teams, I don't think are very favorable at all against Boston. I'm not saying any of those teams are not good teams or that they can't do it. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to be realistic here. As of the day I'm currently recording this, April 15th, I can't even honestly tell you how excited I am for the playoffs this year. Last year's playoffs, I was really excited as well, but this year I have so much more to be excited for as a Thunder fan because my team is in the playoffs this year. Now, obviously, I don't want to see them get milli rocked by the Pelicans or the Lakers or anybody in the first round, even though honestly it could happen. I just hope that the team can put together a good playoff run for the first time back in a few years. Overall, the NBA playoffs are a place where so many teams can find great success, finding what stars really can stand out in the clutch moments and what teams are really built for postseason success. So many interesting playoff series that could go 6-7 games out of nowhere, and just seeing which teams can dominate night in and night out and sweep their opponents when you least expect it. Let me know in the comments down below who your title favorites are for this season. Me personally, I have the Boston Celtics. The reason is their team has improved drastically from last season as their starting lineup has improved, and I think even with the negative conversation around Jayson Tatum, I still think that they could get it done. Let me know who your title favorites are in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the love on the last video. It's doing incredible right now, and I can't thank you guys enough. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. It's time to lock in for the playoffs, y'all. As we all know, ball never stops.